Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how easy it is using Fluid Designer for 3D printing to create a pair of personalised earrings. In this case we're going to put the letter A, Harrington font A, inside these kind of squashed cubes. So if we go to Fluid Designer for 3D printing, I'll just click on Group Library here to just refresh this list. I'm going to use one of these connectors here. This one to put the fish hook through. Also going to use a Harrington font, so I'm going to show you just how you can append letter A, but you can append any letter, and we've also got Arabic fonts and Hebrew, etc. So what are we going to do? Well, if I just go to if we go to shapes, regular 3D shapes, there's a number of objects there which are 3D printable. And if I just drag and drop that cube onto the workspace, now the default size for this cube, it's the same as the grid, so it's just over 20 millimeters, and the default cross section for it at the moment is 2 by 2. Now that's too heavy to be an earring, so you want to really change the cross section down to 1 by 1, and I'll just switch on screencast keys now. I want to reduce the size of that as well, so if I press S on the keyboard I can scale that down to kind of any size I want. I'll try half, and if I do Control A and apply the scale, now you must do this because watch the thickness reapply. If you don't do that, you won't know that the thickness is 1 by 1. Okay, so I'm going to let's see, I'll view this from the front there. And I'm going to rotate this now about the y-axis, and I'm just going to rotate it 45 degrees. And I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to apply that rotation. Not as important as scaling it, but still. Now I'm going to duplicate this. So if I go to Tools, Object, Tools, and duplicate the object, and then press the Enter key. The second object is sitting directly on top of the first, so I'm just going to pull it down until I put it into a position that I want. Now it doesn't really matter where you put this, as long as they do in fact overlap, because clearly we want well, in this instance I want a 3D printable object, which is just one solid object. Now I'm going to append a connector, so if I just view it from the front again, and if I go to File and Append now, and we always go up through the menu system until we get to the Groups folder, and I want a connector, and I'm going to use a wire connector with a 1.5 millimeter diameter hole. So there's my connector, and I just need to press R on the keyboard, X to limit the rotation to the X-axis of 90, just to rotate it 90 degrees. Just make sure it's selected, and I'm just going to position it there, so that will sit quite nicely. There doesn't seem to be any gaps. That's sitting nicely there. So I'll go to View and Front View again. Now I'm going to add in a letter A, so personalise it. So go to File and Append. Just go up through the menu system until you get to the Groups folder. I'm going to add a Harrington font, but we could add any object basically. Harrington font A, object, Harrington font A, and append that from the library. Now the default thickness of this is also 2 millimeters, so I'm going to change it down to 1 by 1. So I want to reduce the weight if this is going to be an earring. And again I want to rotate it about the X-axis, so R, X and 90 to limit the rotation. And then it's just a case of positioning it and making sure that the object is in fact touching in some places. I can see that it's touching there, it's touching down here in this bottom corner, and it's touching there. If it's not touching, you could just try scaling it or moving it around and positioning it wherever you want. Now I'm happy with that. The only thing I'm going to do now though is I'm going to reduce the thickness of these cubes. So I'm going to scale them in the y-axis, that's the green arrow, so I'm just going to thin them down. So I'm going to do S on the keyboard, Y to limit my rotation into the y-axis, and at the top of the screen I can see that the scale is 0.7, so I'm going to click for that. And always remember to do Control A and apply the scale, or the thickness won't be right. And again, highlight the second one, S on the keyboard, Y to limit the rotation to the y-axis, scale it down to 0.7 so it's overlapping. And always remember to do Control A and apply the scale. Now these are parametric smart objects. If you don't apply the scale, then the thickness that's shown over here will not correspond to the thickness of the object. But that's essentially it now. But I want to double check that this is okay in terms of its weight. So what I'm going to, and I want to join it all together as well. So I'm going to convert that to a mesh, the connector. Go to Tools, Object Tools, convert the top cube to a mesh. Tools, Object Tools, convert the A to a mesh. Tools, Object Tools, and convert the bottom cube to a mesh. Now if I just hold down the Shift key, highlight the top cube, highlight the connector, highlight the A, and do Tools, Object Tools, and Join. We don't need to do anything more than that. Because these were parametric objects, that will work fine. And I want to check the thickness, so I'm just opening up the toolbox. If I just go to 3D printing and click on volume, and the volume is approximately 0.1 of a centimetre cubed is about 1 gram, so this should weigh certainly less than 3 grams. So that's okay. It's always best to check that if you're actually going to do earrings. So I need to now export this as a wavefront object format. That's the one I normally do, to the desktop, and I called this a personalised double cube earring, and I exported that previously. And then what you must always do is go to NetFab Basic and just run it through NetFab. Once you're happy with the shape, run it through NetFab, and then just upload it to Shapeways. That's what I did. Alright, so good luck in creating your own.